Hi everyone, it's Danny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with another Confessions of a Paper Addict Cutfiles design team layout, and I am using one of the gorgeous cut files from the brand new release that has just come out this month, which is a kind of boho themed release. So I'm using the Feathered Arrow cut file, and isn't it just absolutely stunning? I am scrapping this photo of my son. We had a little photo shoot at the park, a little family photo shoot when he was, oh goodness, I want to say around 8 or 9 months old. I'm not exactly sure because I didn't put the date on this layout because I'm planning on doing a pocket page to go with it. But this background that I have here, you can see it's quite warped and wrinkled. It's a mixed media background that I did quite a while ago. I sort of just had a bunch of leftover paints, so I smashed them onto a piece of white cardstock. I didn't gesso it, which is why it has warped so much, but by the time I'm finished with it, you will not be able to even notice that. So my cut file I've cut out on, it's not quite navy blue, it's a little lighter than navy. I had planned to use this collection by Cocoa Vanilla Studio, which is the Bohemian Dream collection. It's full of the beautiful colours that are very similar to the sort of colours that are in my son's outfit. So I really had that in mind when I was picking this collection. And also there are a lot of feathers in this collection as well, which really go with this boho themed release, even though I don't actually use any of the feathers out of the collection, as you'll see in a little while. Okay, I trimmed my photo down while I was talking, and now I am backing my cut file. I'm using just some of the pattern papers out of the collection. That cut apart sheet I'm going to use quite a bit. And I'm just flipping my cut file and my paper over, tracing around the shape, and then cutting it out a little bit bigger, and adding some wet glue and sticking it down. And I'm doing that technique because I find the Cocoa Vanilla Studio paper is quite thick, so I find it difficult to trim out after I've glued it down because it's that little bit thicker. Okay, there we go. That is all the backing I'm going to do. I haven't backed the whole thing. I did want to have some feathers that were a little bit empty. I've left some of the spaces in the arrowhead and the tail of the arrow empty as well. Obviously the strings that are tying the feathers onto the arrow, I've left those empty. And I'm going to come in a little while with some of the sections and some sequins. I'm adding a bit of foam here, adhesive foam, just to the arrow. I want this lifted up because I'm going to put some sequins underneath some of the lower part of the cut file. So I want it raised up a little bit, but this is actually going to be the only part of the cut file that I stick to the paper. The feathers I'm just going to let hang and do their thing. So I did add some tape. I have added some white glue there as well, just to the arrow, and I'm going to pop that down because I want it adhered securely while I add my sequins. I don't want it to move at all because that would completely ruin what I'm going to do now. So now that's dried, I'm going through with my pencil, and all those sections on the feathers where you can see it's kind of like little I don't know how to describe that, there's little holes in it. I'm just going to do little trails of sequins in there so that when you look at the layout you can just see little sparkly bits peeking out from in between those gaps. And I am going to go ahead and add quite a few more sequins to the whole layout, but I just really wanted to add this little detail to the cut file. So all I'm doing is putting, I traced with my pencil where the lines were, and then I just put a strip of glue and stick a line of sequins down. And there you go. So you can see once the cut file is laid down, inside all those little gaps are just tiny little sparkly bits. It doesn't show up all that well on camera. It looks really pretty in real life when the light catches it, and in the close-ups you'll be able to see a lot more how it actually looks as well. Okay, now I'm back in my photo, just some white first, and then I'm going to use this kind of, it's like a mandala pattern paper. I really like the purple in it. The shorts he's wearing, he has this little shorts and shirt set on, and there's quite a bit of navy blue and purple, and I think there's a little bit of sort of pink and a bit of yellow as well in there. Just really the perfect colours. Well, this collection had the perfect colours to match that. Okay, that is one of the pieces that you use to back the cut file, so I'm just going to try and use up some of these scraps. Just tearing the edge, and I'm going to layer that behind my photo. I'm just snipping off as much as I can because I'm going to hoard this collection. It's one of their older ones. It's really beautiful, and all I have is the paper pack and the, not even the paper pack, just some individual papers and the ephemera pack. So yeah, I kind of, when I don't have a lot of a collection that I really love like this, I tend to use every last little scrap that I can. And like I am here, I'm just going to snip off this section that I want to use and then again tear the edge. So if you haven't joined the Confessions of a Paper Addict Facebook group yet, I highly recommend that you do. You will see all the new releases, and there's generally a free cut file up most of the time. And you'll see all our fun little games and discussions that we have over there as well. We have a couple of beautiful releases coming out this month. So there's this one and there is another one coming. So definitely keep an eye out for that. I'll leave the links to the group and to the shop in the description box below so that you can go find those. Adding another layer. I did use this to back the spine of the feathers. This kind of stripy navy little section off the counterpart sheet. It was only a 3x4 at that, I think, which is kind of sad. That's really pretty. And then this will be my last layer. Just popping that behind there. We'll come in now with some of the kind of label cut apart. So this is another one of the cut apart sheets. They tend to add a pattern cut apart and then a word phrase cut apart. So this is the word phrase one, and I am going to use that moments. Basically, it's going to be my title. I did think about adding like a thickest title, but there's really not any space for it once I have added the other things I want to add. So I quite like that. It's nice and dark. It adds some weight to the bottom of that photo there, and it's a beautiful script, so I'm happy with that. These acetate feathers are from a Rosie Studio collection. I have had them for a while. It was kind of like a horoscopy collection, but there's an acetate pack that came with it. And when I saw this cut file, I thought of these feathers, and the colors are just perfect for this collection as well. So it all turned out really perfectly, actually. And layering that moments piece on top of this stripy label, I just liked how it kind of bordered it. And now I'm going to go around and distress all the straight cut edges on my photo mats, just because I have all those torn layers, so I thought they just looked a little bit sharp and stark against the white background. So just using my little scissors to do that. Now I'm going to add some foam behind my photo just to lift it up so it's not sitting flat on top of that feather cut file, because that is sitting up, again, like I said, sitting up on the sequence a little bit. So I backed that part of my photo with foam, and then I'm just going to pop that little piece behind that feather. Like I said, I'm not gluing down the cut file, so I've just sat that there so when I glue down my photo that it just sort of rests on top of that foam and doesn't push the cut file flat. So I just want to tuck it here so that that part of the feather overlaps my photo slightly. It sits nicely just inside that negative space in the photo without taking anything away from the photo. It just looks like it was meant to nestle in there. Right, now I'm speeding through this super fast because I went through this whole ephemera pack for ages. I was playing with this, and all I end up using is that Hello Beautiful banner and then that little label in the top left of my photo there. Everything else, everything I added, it just looked cluttered and I didn't like it, so ended up taking it all off and I just used that Hello Beautiful. So my entire title will be Hello Beautiful Moments, and that little tab just to fill in that awkward gap between the feathers there. Okay, I'm peeling off the protective coating on these acetate pieces. They do have like a little film on there, so I'm taking that off and then just using a bit of wet glue on the stem of the feather to glue that underneath the cut file so you won't see that glue. Unfortunately, glue does sort of show through acetate, so I'm just putting that where you can't see it. And now I'm just going to come in with all the sequins. So I have a couple of mixes here. One is from an older Scrapbook kit, and one is one I have just made myself with my stash of sequins, of which I have many, many sequins. So I did start with 3 groups of 3, and then I just sort of kept putting them on, and I end up with the dozens by the end. So I put quite a few around my title there at the bottom of my photo. I'm going to sprinkle a lot of them I want them to look like they're sort of just falling out of that feather cluster there. So I sped this up super fast because it did take quite a long time and a couple of sessions, as you can see. So I'm using some pink, some purple, some teal, some clear, some pink, and some holographic silver, which is really pretty. And then I do come in with some teeny tiny navy blue ones as well. And I will add a few sort of cascading down the top right corner of my photo there where it's a little bit blank and empty, helps to fill in that space. And then just filling in some of these little gaps here between the cut file. Okay, last thing I'm going to do is add a border. I don't have a lot left around the outside of my page, so I'm just going to trim off a little bit off the top and then just a teeny tiny bit off each side. And then I will come in with, I'd say, blue kind of speckly paper, and I'm going to gut that. And unfortunately you won't see all this because my camera did decide this was the perfect time to die. Battery went flat. So I will show you just in a minute that all backed. So I just used a bit of wet glue. My page is quite warped, so it was tricky, but I just used wet glue and a bunch of bulldog clips, and I got there in the end. So that's my layout finished. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to check out the shop. Link is in the description box, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.